Okay, so we're here with our 125 Willis Jeep. We're going to install a Nibbi Carb on here. All I did was I took off the seat and these two panels. Very easy to do. Sorry about that. Now all I'm going to do is I want to get the carb off. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get it off. It's just a bunch of 8mm bolts. So you want to remove these 8mm bolts. You're also going to remove these because you want to take the stock carb off. So we can go ahead and unscrew the needle valve and pull it out. Leave your fuel line on if you have gas in it, because there's no, unless you shut your fuel line and shut off, just leave it on for now. And we can get to that in a sec. So first thing we're gonna do is, we're just gonna take off our 8mm here. Because we want to get that intake off so we can loosen this one off, or ooh, that's tightening it, so we don't want to do that. So we can do this, get these off. Now, when we take this off, we want to watch this black gasket. We want to take it off and just put it off to the side. Our carb, we can actually just set it off here, and then we're going to take the intake off. And after we get this intake off, we're going to look at the best possible place to mount our carb. Okay, and I want to be careful. I didn't want to rip that gasket, so I'll just leave the gasket on there for now. And now I'm going to get my Nibbi and I'm going to take a look. I want to see which would be the best route to put this Nibbi carb. Okay, so I took a look here at our Nibbi and I looked at our intake, I looked at everything. So now, if I was to take this intake here and put it on here, and then once our rubber intake goes on, it's gonna put it like way out here. And then our carb all the time is gonna be hitting this. I'm not doing that. So what I'm gonna do, if you notice, if I take my carb down here and I go ahead and put it here, it matches up pretty good. That's where approximately I would want the carb. Because then when the Jeep does hit a bump or anything and this moves forward, my carb is actually right in the center here where it's not going to smash into anything, and I'll be able to still have my fuel cable or my throttle cable up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this flange off of this intake, and then my rubber intake is going to go over this intake, something kind of like what I do on the Premium Matics. And then I'll slip this all together, and my carb will end up right here. Is exactly where I probably want my carb anyway, like I said, so I don't have to worry about it bashing anywhere. And then once I put my filter on here, I can angle it down and out of the way, so it's not really getting affected either. So the only thing I really need to do is just cut the flange off this intake right here, and then I can slip my rubber right here, right over the top of this flange, and over the top of this intake, and tighten it up, and we'll be golden, and then we can get all that together. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut this off. You can use a hacksaw if you want to cut that off. You don't have to use, I'm gonna use a grinder with a zip disc on it, and I'll just zip it right off. But if you don't have that at home, it's not a huge deal. Hacksaw costs you $6 at Walmart. You can go grab a hacksaw, and I want you to take it off just flush. You're gonna see when I take it off that I do it flush, and then I'm gonna clean up the end so it doesn't have any burrs or sharp edges or anything. And we'll go ahead and we'll get this Nibbi installed. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut that off, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so now your intake should look just like that. All I did was cut it off, tighten down my hose clamp. I'm not a fan of these hose clamps. You'll see this one's already turning sideways, but is on there really solid, so I'm not too worried about it. It's not coming off. Now, when I put it like this, now you're gonna see where my carb's gonna sit. My carb's gonna be right here, exactly where I want it. So let's go ahead and we're gonna pop the carb on here, so I can kind of get an idea where it's gonna sit. There we are. And my carb is gonna sit right there, just like that. So I'm gonna put my bolts in, and I'm just test fitting. I'm not doing anything else. Easiest way is to test fit it first. Ugh. And actually my carb's gonna be pushed in probably a little bit more on the intake, but carb's got good motion. It's not hitting anything, which is awesome. And now I can just put my throttle cable on and go from there. Where is my piece? So I'm just wondering about this piece right here, because it actually bolts. So if this was me and this was my Jeep, most likely what I would do is just cut this to fit, or I would just leave it off. Leaving it off will leave it open here, but you can always cut it back here like this and like this. And I mean, again, you can do this with a hacksaw, just cut back and make your opening a little wider. You are putting an upgraded carb on here, so you're gonna have to modify a few things. That's just part of putting a new carb on. I was kind of a little concerned about the throttle cable in the seat, but I noticed that the seat, once it gets on these tracks, is going to be high enough that it won't interfere with our carburetor. And everything is literally right here. So you get everything that you need to get to is literally right in front of you. So it's not that difficult. And then our air filter, I just want to make sure I can put it on as well, and it won't cause any issues. Oh yeah, it'll slip right on there. I'm not even having a hard time with it at all. Nice. And that'll slip right there like that. So as a test fit, this all looks pretty good. Yep. Oh, that's very good. Very nice. And then I can turn this filter away. Yeah, so it's turned all the way, so it won't be impeded by the body. There's a good almost 2-inch clearance here for the filter. And I don't have a clamp on it. The filter's still not falling off, so that's a good sign. So there we go. This is, like I said, it's a learning experience for me too. It's the first time I'm putting a carb on one of these Jeeps like this. So right now is the way I would do it. I would absolutely do it this way. So we're gonna leave it like this, and I'm gonna go ahead and get everything ready to be buttoned up, and then we'll start the Jeep and see how it runs, make sure everything's running right, and then we'll put everything back together. Okay, so with a little finessing and a little bit of work, all I did was I turned my carb a tiny bit. It's still anchored good on my intake. Gotta remember my intake's not tightened yet, but remember when I was saying we test fit everything first, so always test. Now if you see, my carb doesn't hit anywhere. I have full range up here. I don't have to worry about the seat or anything. I know my throttle cable will go right in there like that. So right now, this is perfect. Like the way the carb is lined up, nothing's gonna hit the front. This has a space, so even my idle screw here is not gonna hit because this comes out here. So even when I push down, nothing's hitting. Everything is test fit in there perfect. That's the way I want it. So again, it takes time, and you're gonna wanna mess around and test fit different things. So now I can go ahead, I can tighten down my, my intake bolts. There's a gasket there that I didn't need to fill down in there. I wanna get it out of the way, okay. So my intake is tight, tight. Now I'm going to take out my needle valve on this carb. My big old spring. And my needle valve I'll put here. And we'll get the cable, which is right here. I'm going to take my whole other carb out here now. Fuel line's disconnected. This is my needle valve. I can go ahead and take the spring off of it. And we'll strip the cable top off of that, just like that. Now you'll notice on the new one, the size of the needle valve on that compared to the needle valve on the other one. So you're gonna notice, man, this thing's gonna have a lot more juice to it. So we have to just put our top on first and make sure and run that cable all the way in through that top like that. Then we get our spring, push it all the way on. And there's this black cap that goes like this on there too. And we can put our needle valve on like that, just like that. And we can go ahead and put it in the bike. Now when you're putting this in, make sure this slotted side with just the slot on it goes to this wheel. That's for the idle adjust screw. Okay. On there. There you go. Now I hit my pedal. Getting good rev. I can feel it moving. So my cable's good. Now if we look, we put our top back on again. I don't mind my cable being on the top of this. It's just plastic against plastic. I'm not gonna hurt anything. Again, it's not hurting anything. I am gonna change this hose clamp. I hate this hose clamp. But other than that, it's good. And now, like I said, I just have to put some fuel to it and fire up this Jeep, and that should be it. That'll be the install. We'll just have to put the air filter back on, and that's about it. And definitely, probably go to like a Home Depot or something. Get a good Trident hose clamp. I hate the hose clamps that come with this. They just always seem to split and turn sideways. So I'm gonna get a new hose clamp, and we'll get that straightened out right away because I want it tight. I don't want any leaks where it's gonna suck air at my intake. So I'm gonna get a better hose clamp, and like I said, we'll tighten that up. And then that's pretty well the install. It's like I said, oops, sorry, kicked the camera there. But it's the top fits, the carb moves back and forth, it's fine. It's not smashing the front. And that's so far like the best way that I could definitely install this. Okay, so I have my Nibbi. I just ran a gas line, or my little gas tank here. So I ran my gas line down, and now let's get it fired up here. Okay. All right, let's try it out. So the really good thing about the Nibbis is they're usually real quick start, so there's not much problems when you want to start them up. There we go, and fired right away. And then if we want to idle it down, we can always do that. That's what I love about the Nibbi Carb, is everything is very accessible. So we can idle it right down to there. There you go, guys. So that's how you install the Nibbi Carb. Now all we would have to do is put our air filter on. And it just slips right on there, and then you can put your tab on. Now I would turn it so that when it does bounce, it doesn't knock it off. You'll see you have actually a little bit of playroom there, so it's not going to knock it off or cause any damage. We can actually put our cap back on here, just like this. It's not going to cause any damage. We didn't have to modify it. It stays just underneath, and that's perfect. Now when we take this, you can remove your choke cable now too. You don't need that on anymore. And then when you put that on, like this, I'm going to put that down there for now. It sits out too, because there's rubbers. So you have good access to your carb. You can still reach in here, turn up your idle if you have to, or turn it down. And that's it, guys. So that's how you install the Nibbi Carb on the Jeep. And it looks actually pretty clean there, the way it turned out there. Like I said, I can bounce it. It doesn't harm or move the carb anywhere. It doesn't hit the body of the Jeep. And that's it, guys. So like I said, here, let's move this back out of the way so we can see it again. The only thing I would change, like I said, is this hose clamp. I'm not really thrilled with the way it holds on. But other than that, it turned out really well. Well, I hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.